The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and light orbiting the neutral world below. Inside, 12 species sat in judgment of humanity. Their seats rose in tiers around the central platform, where Ambassador Bo-Ra stood alone, her hands clasped behind her back, her face calm despite the weight of billions of lives resting on her shoulders. The Valorian speaker, a creature of crystalline skin and too many joints, raised what passed for its hand. The Council has reviewed Earth's military expansion. We find it unacceptable. Humanity has built warships at an alarming rate. You have armed your colonies. You have refused our guidance. Its voice echoed through translation devices. Cold and final. Bo-Ra took a breath. We have armed ourselves for defense. Nothing more. The galaxy is vast. There are pirates, raiders, unknown threats. We only protect our people. Protection? The Threxian counselor's tentacles writhed with what might have been amusement. Your species achieved faster than light travel in 3 centuries. It took our people 5,000 years. You build weapons like others build monuments. You are dangerous children playing with fire. Around the chamber, other counselors nodded or made gestures of agreement. They had decided before Bo-Ra ever walked into the room. She could see it in their alien eyes, in the way they looked at her with something between pity and contempt. We ask for 30 standard cycles, the Valorian speaker continued. Dismantle your military fleet. Submit to council oversight. We will guide you, as we have guided others. This is not negotiation. This is mercy. Bo-Ra's jaw tightened. And if we refuse, then you will be contained, for the safety of the galaxy. 3 kilometers away, invisible to every sensor the council possessed, the human vessel, Righteous Fury, held position in the void. On its bridge, Captain Hyun-Woo watched the council proceedings on a dozen screens. His face showed nothing, but his eyes were ice. They're really going to do it, Lieutenant Dae-Hyun said from the tactical station. He was young, barely 25, but his hands were steady on the controls. They're going to try to lock down Earth. Yes, Hyun-Woo said simply. His voice was quiet. The kind of quiet that made people listen. They believe their technology makes them gods. They've forgotten what real conflict looks like. Dr. Youngmi turned from her science station. Captain, I'm reading 300 warships gathering at the rally point. They're preparing for a blockade run to Sol system. She paused. Sir, that's enough firepower to crack a planet. Hyun-Woo nodded slowly. He had expected this. Earth Command had expected this. That's why the Righteous Fury existed. Why it had been built in secret in the asteroid fields, beyond Neptune. Why its crew had trained for 5 years in conditions that broke lesser people. Maintain cloak, he ordered. Continue recording. Earth needs to see this. On the main screen, Ambassador Bo-Ra was making one last appeal. The Council speaks of peace, but you offer us chains. You speak of guidance, but you offer occupation. We came to the stars because humanity dreams of freedom. We will not surrender that dream. The Valorian speaker's crystalline face seemed to harden. Then, you choose conflict. The Council declares humanity a threat. Level 7 civilization. Containment protocols are authorized. Your Sol system will be placed under quarantine. Any vessel attempting to leave will be destroyed. Any colony refusing Council authority will be occupied. You have brought this upon yourselves. The chamber erupted in sounds, alien languages mixing in approval of the decision. Bo-Ra stood silent, watching them celebrate what they thought was their triumph. Then she spoke, her voice cutting through the noise. You will regret this. The Valorian speaker actually laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Regret? Little human? We have maintained peace for 10,000 years. Our technology is beyond your comprehension. Our fleet has never known defeat. What could we possibly regret? Bo-Ra smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. You'll find out, She turned and walked from the chamber, her spine straight, her steps measured. The council watched her go with the confidence of beings who had never truly been challenged. On the righteous fury, Hyun-woo received the encrypted message from Earth Command. It was short, 3 words, that changed everything. Sovereignty is non-negotiable. He turned to his crew. They were watching him, these men and women who had volunteered for a mission they knew might end in their deaths. Engineers, pilots, scientists, soldiers. All human, already. Orders received, Hyun-woo said. Earth refuses the ultimatum. The Council is sending their fleet to enforce the blockade. He paused, letting that sink in. We are authorized to shadow their armada. We will record their movements. We will identify their weaknesses. And when the time comes, we will show them what happens when you threaten Earth. Dae-hyun's fingers moved across his console. Setting course to intercept the Council fleet. We'll be in their shadow the whole way home, sir, Youngmi said, her voice tight with barely controlled anger. They're launching now. 300 ships. They'll reach Earth in 48 hours. Hyun-woo walked to the main viewport and stared out at the Council station. So beautiful. So peaceful. So arrogant. They had no idea what was coming. They thought age meant wisdom. That technology meant invincibility. They had lived so long in peace that they had forgotten the most important lesson of survival. Never corner a predator. Take us in close, he ordered. I want to see their formation, their spacing, their command structure. I want to know which ship leads, which ship coordinates, which ship breaks first when the shooting starts. The righteous fury moved, silent and invisible. A ghost ship crewed by ghosts, following the massive alien armada as it headed toward humanity's home. The Council fleet was magnificent, each ship a work of art, gleaming with energy shields and bristling with weapons that could boil oceans. But Hyun-woo had studied history. He knew that the most beautiful armies often fell the hardest. The Persians, at Marathon. The Spanish Armada. The Death Star. Over and over. Throughout human history, the side with the best technology had lost to the side with the better strategy. Sir, Dae-hyun said quietly, do you think we can win? Hyun-woo was silent for a moment, watching the alien fleet spread out before them like a constellation of doom. Then he spoke, his voice carrying to every corner of the bridge. They've had peace for 10,000 years. We've had war for 10,000 years. They've forgotten how to fight. We've perfected it. He turned to face his crew. They're about to learn why predators evolved on our world, not theirs. The righteous fury vanished into the darkness, following the Council fleet toward Earth, toward war, toward a battle that would decide whether humanity remained free or became another footnote in galactic history. In the Council chamber, the Valorian speaker was already composing the victory speech it would deliver once Earth was secured. It never occurred to the ancient being that humanity might have planned for this moment. That mistake would cost the Council everything. The Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system like a swarm of metal locusts. 300 warships, each one larger than anything humanity had publicly shown, their shields shimmering with contained energy. On the command deck of the flagship Eternal Dominion, the fleet commander studied the tactical display with satisfaction. Primitive defensive positions, the Valorian admiral noted. 40 human vessels, outdated design, positioned near Mars. They know they cannot win. Yet they resist. How typical of young species. Lodius. Works. What the admiral did not see were the 15 human ships holding position in perfect silence. Cloaked and waiting. Scattered throughout the solar system, in a pattern that had taken months to perfect. The righteous fury hung near Jupiter, its crew watching as the Council fleet moved deeper into the trap. On Earth, Admiral Jin-ho sat in the command center buried 3 kilometers beneath the Korean peninsula. His face was carved from stone, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the Council fleet's advance. Around him, officers worked in controlled chaos, coordinating the defense of humanity's home. "Sir, they're not scanning for cloaked vessels," his tactical officer reported. "Their sensors are focused on our visible fleet." Jinho allowed himself a small smile. "Why would they? They believe we're primitives. They believe we've shown them everything we have." He opened a channel to Commander Hei-1, aboard the Marathon. "Commander, you know what to do." Hei-1's face appeared on the screen. She was 34 years old, had a daughter waiting for her on Earth, and knew she was about to die. Her voice was steady. "Understood, Admiral. It's been an honor serving with you." "The honor is ours, Commander. Earth will remember." The visible human fleet began moving toward the Council Armada, their formation deliberately sloppy, their approach predictable. On the Eternal Dominion, the Valorian Admiral actually sighed with something like disappointment. They attack with 40 ships against 300. Such waste. It gestured to its weapons officer. "Target their command vessel. Make it quick. Let this be a lesson, not a massacre." The Council ships opened fire, lances of energy that could vaporize cities cutting through space. The human shields flared and died. 3 human vessels were destroyed in the opening salvo, their crews vaporized before they could scream. Commander Hei-1 gritted her teeth as her ship shook from impact. "Return fire! All weapons!" The Marathon and the surviving human ships fired back, their missiles and railguns barely scratching the superior Council shields. But they were doing their job. They were pulling the enemy fleet forward, deeper into the system, past Mars, toward the prepared killing ground. On the Righteous Fury, Captain Hyun-woo watched the sacrifice of his fellow humans with cold calculation. Each destroyed ship was a marker, a signpost guiding the enemy exactly where they needed to be. His hand hovered over the communications panel. "Not yet," he whispered. "Not yet." Lieutenant Dae-hyun monitored the Council fleet's formation. "Captain, they're clustering around their command ships. They're following standard Council battle doctrine. Formation Epsilon 7. They're not even trying to adapt." Dr. Youngmi's voice was tight with barely controlled rage. "Sir, the Marathon is taking heavy fire. Commander Hei-1's ship won't last another minute." "I know." Hyun-woo's jaw clenched. "Stand by." The Council fleet pressed forward, confident, overwhelming. They were arranged in a beautiful spiral formation that maximized their shield overlap and allowed for coordinated fire. It was perfect for ceremony and terrible for actual combat. The formation assumed the enemy would break, would run, would surrender. Humanity did none of those things. The Marathon exploded in a ball of white fire. Commander Hei-1's last transmission was 3 words. "For our children. For our children." Young Ensign Tae-yang, monitoring communications aboard the Righteous Fury, closed his eyes as he heard her die. His hands trembled on the console. Around the bridge, the crew fell silent. They had known Hei-1, had trained with her, had shared meals and jokes and hopes for the future. Now she was atoms scattered across the void. Captain Hyun-woo stood. "All ships. This is Ghost Leader. The enemy fleet is in position. They think they've won." He paused, his voice dropping to something dark and final. "Show them their mistake." Throughout the solar system, 15 human vessels shimmered into existence. They appeared simultaneously, surrounding the Council fleet in a perfect sphere, each ship positioned at optimal firing range. The cloak technology, reverse-engineered from ruins found on Titan, technology the Council had dismissed as myth, had worked perfectly. On the Eternal Dominion, alarms screamed. The Valorian Admiral stared at the tactical display in disbelief as hostile contacts appeared from nowhere. "Impossible," it breathed. "Cloaking at this scale is impossible. The power requirements alone. Sir, they're targeting our command ships. Raise shields to maximum." All vessels, evasive. The human ships fired. Railguns, simple by galactic standards, hurled tungsten rods at a significant fraction of light speed. The Council shields were designed to deflect or absorb energy weapons, to disperse particle beams, to shrug off plasma. They were not designed for kinetic weapons traveling at relativistic velocity. The rods punched through shields like they weren't there, through armor, through decks. In the first 3 seconds of engagement, 7 Council command vessels were crippled, their bridges exposed to vacuum, their admirals dead before they understood what was happening. Missiles followed, thousands of them, each equipped with AI, smart enough to evade point defense, clever enough to find weak spots in shields, ruthless enough to exploit every advantage. The Council ships tried to shoot them down, but their computers were following protocols designed for honorable combat. One-on-one, duels, civilized warfare. Humans had learned war in the mud and blood of 10,000 battlefields. They knew nothing of honor when survival was at stake. Lieutenant Dae-hyun coordinated the firing solutions from the Righteous Fury with machine precision. Target their carriers next. Without fighter support, their capital ships are vulnerable. Hyun-woo nodded. All ships, target Class 7 vessels. Fire at will. The human fleet moved with coordination born of endless simulation and brutal training. They didn't fire randomly. They didn't waste ammunition. Each shot was calculated and a groove. Each missile directed at a specific weakness identified by Dr. Youngmi's deep analysis of Council technology. The Council fleet tried to respond, tried to bring their superior weapons to bear. But they couldn't target what they couldn't predict. The human ships moved in patterns that made no sense to alien tactical computers. Patterns based on human intuition, on the ability to think like prey and predator simultaneously. Within 20 minutes, half the Council fleet was disabled or destroyed. Ships drifted in space, their crews evacuating in escape pods, their admirals screaming for reinforcements that would never come. The Valorian admiral aboard the barely functional Eternal Dominion stared at the carnage in horror. This is not possible. We are the Council. We have maintained order for 10,000 years. They are children. They are primitives. But children learn fast, and primitives survive where the civilized perish. Admiral Jinho's voice cut across all frequencies, calm and implacable. Council Fleet, this is Earth Defense Command. You came to our home to threaten our families. You believed your age made you superior. You forgot that the newest predator is often the deadliest. He paused. You have one chance to surrender. Choose wisely. For quarter. And N9. Thank you for watching. And N9. Some ships began powering down weapons. Some launched more escape pods. But some, driven by pride or fear, or the inability to accept defeat, tried to fight on. They died quickly. Captain Hyun-woo allowed himself no satisfaction, no joy in the victory. Good people had died today. Commander Hae-won and thousands of others had sacrificed themselves to protect Earth. Their deaths weighed on him like gravity. But Earth was safe, and the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The battle was 23 minutes old, when the galaxy learned what humanity truly was. On 12 different Council worlds, billions of citizens watched their invincible fleet shatter against human tactics like waves against stone. The broadcasts came from everywhere and nowhere, impossible to block, impossible to silence. Fleet Admiral Subin appeared on every screen across Council space, her face calm, her uniform crisp, her words chosen with surgical precision. She stood in the war room beneath Seoul, flanked by holographic displays showing the complete destruction of Council military power. People of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice translated into 1,000 languages simultaneously. Your leaders came to our home with threats. They demanded we surrender our freedom, our sovereignty, our right to defend ourselves. We refused. What you are witnessing is the consequence of that choice. The screens showed Council ships, proud vessels that had patrolled the galaxy for centuries, reduced to drifting hulks. They showed human ships, smaller and supposedly primitive, moving through the wreckage like sharks through a feeding frenzy. But this is not why I address you. Subin continued. You need to understand what your council kept from you. They knew we were developing defenses. They knew we were advancing rapidly. They chose to attack us anyway because they feared losing their power, their control, their position at the top of the galactic hierarchy. On the Righteous Fury, Captain Hyun Woo received new orders from Earth Command. His eyes widened slightly as he read them. Then he looked at Lieutenant Dae-hyun. Contact Colonel Jae-min. Tell him to proceed with Operation Revelation. Dae-hyun's fingers flew across his console. Signal sent. Captain. The colonel confirms. He's going active in 3 minutes. Across the galaxy, on 3 major council worlds, Colonel Jae-min's special operations teams had been hiding for weeks. They were embedded deep in civilian populations, invisible, patient, waiting for exactly this moment. Now, their orders came through, and they moved with practiced efficiency. On Valoria Prime, the crystalline homeworld of the Council's founding species, a team of 6 humans stood in the central plaza and simply removed their holographic disguises. Around them, shocked Valorians stumbled back as the humans activated their communication equipment. Citizens of Valoria, a human lieutenant, spoke in perfect Valorian. We have been on your world for 43 days. We walked among you. We learned your language, your culture, your daily lives. We could have planted bombs. We could have poisoned your water. We could have assassinated your leaders. We did none of these things because we are not monsters. But understand this. We were here. We can be here again. Tell your government that humanity does not wish war, but we will not accept chains. The same scene played out on Threx and Calderon, human teams appearing in population centers, delivering the same message. The psychological impact was devastating. The council species had believed themselves safe, protected by distance and superior technology. Now they understood that nowhere was safe, that humanity could reach them whenever they chose. Dr. Kyung-soo, Earth's chief weapons developer, appeared on the galactic networks next. Behind him, test footage played, showing weapons the Council had never imagined. Asteroids split apart by gravitational weapons. Uninhabited moons, cracked open by experimental drives. Most terrifying of all, footage of human AI infiltrating Council computer networks, walking through their security like it didn't exist. For 5 years, Dr. Kyung-soo said, adjusting his glasses, we have been inside your systems, your military networks, your communication grids, your financial markets. We mapped everything. We could have crashed your economy. We could have disabled your defenses. We chose not to because we hoped for peace. He paused. That hope is now dead. You will withdraw from human space, or you will learn what total war truly means. On the Eternal Dominion, the Valorian admiral who had led the attack on Earth sat in the ruins of its bridge, watching its civilization unravel in real time. Around it, the surviving officers worked frantically to restore systems, to coordinate with the scattered fleet, to salvage something from the disaster. Admiral, a communications officer reported, its voice shaking. We're receiving surrender requests from 47 ships. They're requesting permission to power down and await rescue. The Admiral's crystalline face seemed to crack, light refracting through tears it didn't know it could shed. Grant it. Grant all requests. We have lost. Captain Hyun-woo watched the Council fleet crumble. But he felt no triumph. War was not glorious. Victory was not sweet. It was necessary, brutal, and ultimately, hollow. He had studied enough human history to know that. Captain, Dr. Youngmi reported from her station, I'm detecting a power surge in the Eternal Dominion. It's their planet-killer weapon. They're activating it. Hyun-woo's blood went cold. Target? Earth, sir. They're pointing it at Earth. Time seemed to slow. Hyun-woo's mind raced through options. Calculations. Possibilities. The planet-killer weapon was the Council's last resort. A weapon that could crack tectonic plates and boil oceans. It took 30 seconds to charge, and could not be stopped once activated. The Eternal Dominion was 12,000 kilometers away. Too far for conventional weapons to disable the charging process. The weapon would fire in 28 seconds. Lieutenant Dae-hyun looked at his captain, understanding dawning in his eyes. Sir, if we ram them at full thrust, we could trigger the weapon to detonate prematurely. The explosion would be directional, away from Earth. It would also vaporize us, Youngmi said quietly. Hyun-woo looked around his bridge. His crew. His family. Young Ensign Tae-young at communications. Barely 21 years old. Dae-hyun, at tactical. Brilliant and brave. Youngmi at science, who had solved problems the Council couldn't imagine. 36 others throughout the ship, engineers and pilots and soldiers who had trusted him, followed him, believed in him. 23 seconds until the weapon fired. All hands, Hyun-woo said, his voice steady despite everything. This is the captain. The Eternal Dominion is preparing to fire a planet-killer weapon at Earth. We can stop it, but it will cost us everything. He paused. I'm giving you a choice. Those who wish to evacuate, head to the escape pods now. No one will judge you. You've done more than anyone could ask. 20 seconds. No one moved. Tae-young spoke, his young voice firm. Sir, we volunteered for this mission knowing we might not come home. Earth is home. Our families are there. We hold the line. Earth. Earth. Around the bridge, heads nodded. Dae-hyun's hands moved to the helm controls. Setting ramming course, Captain. Full thrust on your order. 15 seconds. Hyun-woo felt something break inside his chest and reform into something harder, colder, final. He thought of Earth, green and blue and beautiful. He thought of Commander Hae-won, who had died minutes before to protect that same world. He thought of all the people throughout human history who had stood in the gap when darkness came. Now it was his turn. 10 seconds. All power to engines, he ordered. Maximum acceleration. Override all safety protocols. The righteous fury leaped forward like a missile, its experimental drives pushing it to speeds that would have torn apart conventional ships. The crew felt the G-forces despite the compensators, felt their bones creak and their vision tunnel. 5 seconds. It's been an honor serving with you all, Hyun-woo said. Tell Earth we held the line. 3 seconds. The righteous fury struck the Eternal Dominion at a significant fraction of light speed. The kinetic energy was beyond measurement. The Council flagship's shields collapsed instantly. Its armor vaporized. The planet-killer weapon, charged to full power and ready to fire, detonated inside the ship instead of being directed at Earth. The explosion lit up the solar system like a newborn star. It was visible from Earth's surface, a second sun that blazed for 3 seconds before fading. The energy release was equivalent to 1,000 nuclear weapons, directional and terrible. The righteous fury and everyone aboard ceased to exist in an instant. 400 souls, human and eternal, their atoms scattered across space, their sacrifice absolute. On Earth, billions watched the sky and wept. Captain Mi-sun commanded the recovery vessel Hope's Return as it moved through the debris field where the righteous fury had made its final stand. Around her ship, twisted metal drifted in the void, fragments of both human and council vessels mixed together in death. Her sensors swept the area again and again, searching for something, anything that might have survived. Captain, her science officer reported quietly, radiation levels are still critical. Structural debris shows complete molecular breakdown. There's nothing left. Mi-sun stared at her screens, refusing to accept what she knew was true. Captain Hyun-woo had been her friend. They had trained together, shared dreams about the stars, promised to watch each other's backs. Now he was gone. Scattered atoms floating in the darkness. Keep scanning, she ordered, her voice tight. Run every protocol we have. Check for quantum signatures, probability matrices, anything the experimental drive might have left behind. Lieutenant Dae-hyun would have become the ranking officer of the Ghost Fleet if his ship still existed. Instead, The role fell to Captain Ko Woon of the Silent Wind. He was 42 years old, steady and experienced, and he felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders like lead. All ghost ships. This is your new fleet commander, Ko Woon transmitted to the remaining 14 human vessels. The Council fleet is surrendering. We will accept their unconditional capitulation, transfer their wounded to medical ships, and escort their vessels to designated holding areas. We will treat prisoners with respect and dignity. We are not conquerors. We are defenders who were forced to fight. On what remained of the Council fleet, survival pods drifted in clusters. Alien crews huddled inside, waiting to be rescued. Some expected execution. They had heard stories about human brutality, about a species that killed its own in tribal conflicts, that had nearly destroyed itself with nuclear weapons. They expected monsters. Instead, human rescue teams arrived with medical supplies and gentle hands. They stabilized wounded aliens, provided food and water, spoke softly to terrified survivors. The contrast between humanity's ruthless tactical efficiency and their compassionate treatment of prisoners confused the Council species profoundly. On Earth, the Galactic Council convened in emergency session via secure communication channels. Their chamber was no longer the confident arena where they had condemned humanity. Now it was a room full of frightened leaders trying to understand how their perfect order had collapsed in less than an hour. Ambassador Bo-Ra stood before them. But she was no longer pleading. Her posture was different now, her voice carrying the weight of Earth's sacrifice and fury. "Your fleet is destroyed," she said simply. "Your military superiority is revealed as illusion. Your homeworlds are vulnerable, and you know it. Now, we will discuss terms." The Valorian speaker, a different individual than the admiral who had led the attack, trembled as it spoke. "Terms? You speak of terms? You have proven yourselves to be exactly what we feared. Violent, dangerous, capable of terrible destruction. We proved ourselves capable of defending our home," Bo-Ra corrected coldly. "You came to our system with 300 warships and threats of occupation. We responded proportionally. If we were truly the monsters you claim, your homeworlds would already be burning." Elder Counselor Tarvesh, one of the oldest beings in the galaxy, raised a manipulator appendage. It had argued against attacking Earth from the beginning, had warned the Council that they were making a catastrophic mistake. Now its warnings had proven prophetic, but there was no satisfaction in being right. "Ambassador Bo-Ra speaks truth," Tarvesh said, its ancient voice carrying through the chamber. "We have lived in peace so long that we forgot what real conflict looks like. We built weapons for show, not for use. We created fleets for ceremony, not for war. Then we encountered a species that learned warfare in blood and fire, and we tried to dominate them." It paused. "We are fortunate they showed restraint. A more vengeful species would have continued the attack to our homeworlds." Bo-Ra nodded acknowledgement to Tarvesh, then continued. "Earth demands the following: complete demilitarization of all Council offensive weapons systems, reparations for the families of our fallen, a new galactic charter with humanity as an equal founding member, not a subject species, and a formal apology delivered to every human colony and broadcast across all Council worlds. You cannot expect us to disarm completely," a Threxian counselor protested. "There are other threats in the galaxy. Pirates and raiders. You will maintain defensive capabilities," Bo-Ra interrupted. "But your days of enforcing your will through military might are over. You wanted to put humanity in chains. Instead, you freed us to show you what we truly are." As the Council debated humanity's terms, a different kind of miracle was happening in a research facility orbiting Earth's moon. Engineer Il-sung, who had designed the Righteous Fury's experimental quantum drive, stared at his calculations with growing excitement. "The drive creates a quantum entanglement between the ship and normal space," he explained to Captain Mi-sun via video link. "When the Righteous Fury was destroyed, that entanglement wasn't severed, it was scattered across probability matrices. Theoretically, with enough power and the right calculations, We could reconstruct matter from those quantum imprints. Mi-sun's eyes widened. You're saying we could bring them back? I'm saying there's a chance. Infinitesimally small. Maybe 1 in 10 billion. But it exists. Il-sung's hands shook as he worked his console. Captain Hyun-woo and his crew aren't dead in the traditional sense. They're dispersed across quantum probability space. If we can collapse those probabilities correctly. Do it, Mi-sun said immediately. I don't care about the odds. We have to try. The project began that day. Il-sung assembled a team of the brightest minds Earth had to offer. They built machines that pushed the boundaries of physics, created algorithms that made conventional computers weep, and poured energy into the reconstruction process that could have powered entire cities. 3 months passed. The Council signed humanity's terms, their leaders appearing on broadcasts across the galaxy to formally apologize for their aggression. Council military vessels were retrofitted for purely defensive roles. The new Galactic Charter was drafted with human legal experts, ensuring no species could ever be subjugated again. But for Mi-sun and Il-sung, the work continued. Every day, they fed more power into the quantum reconstruction array. Every day, they refined their algorithms. Every day, they failed to bring back even a single atom of their lost friends. Until they didn't. It happened on a Tuesday, Earth Standard Time. The quantum array suddenly spiked with activity. Energy readings went off the scale, and in the chamber at the center of the facility, matter began to coalesce from nothing. First one form, then another, then dozens more. They appeared naked and gasping, their bodies reconstructed from probability and desperate hope. But they were alive. Captain Hyun-woo collapsed to the floor of the reconstruction chamber, coughing and shaking, his mind trying to process the impossible. He had died. He remembered dying, remembered the impact, remembered his consciousness expanding across dimensions that shouldn't exist. But now, he was back, and he was changed. Captain! Mi-sun's voice came through speakers. Oh God! It worked! It actually worked! Around Hyun-woo, his crew materialized. 73 of the 400 came back. Lieutenant Dae-hyun appeared, clutching his head and screaming as memories of quantum space flooded his mind. Dr. Young-mi manifested, gasping, her eyes seeing wavelengths that humans weren't meant to perceive. Young Ensign Tae-young reformed, crying, grateful and traumatized and forever altered. The others, the ones whose quantum signatures were too scattered, too damaged, too lost in probability space, remained as atoms floating in the void. They were honored, remembered, mourned by a grateful humanity. But they could not return. Il-sung ran into the chamber, scanning the survivors with medical equipment. You're alive, but you're different. Your neural patterns show exposure to dimensions beyond our understanding. You've touched something, seen something. We saw everything, Hyun-woo interrupted, his voice strange and distant. All possibilities, all timelines, all choices. We saw the paths humanity could take, the futures that await us. He looked up at the observation windows, and we saw what's coming. Something worse than the Council. Something that makes our little war look like children fighting in a playground. Mi-sun's blood ran cold. What did you see? Harvesters, Young-mi said, her altered eyes focusing on something far away. Post-biological entities that consume entire species. They're heading toward the galaxy's core. They'll be here within a year. Hyun-woo stood on shaking legs, his body remembering how to be solid, how to be human. Get me to Earth Command. The Council and humanity just finished one war. Now we need to prepare for a real one. Earth, and we need to do it together. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had proven itself. The Council had fallen from power. But the true test was still coming. And this time, survival would require cooperation instead of conquest. The Righteous Fury's crew had returned from death itself to deliver a warning. Now, everyone had to listen. 3 months after Captain Hyun-woo's impossible return from quantum death, the Joint Human Council Research Station hung in neutral space between Earth and Valoria Prime. The station was a symbol of the New Order, built by former enemies who now worked side by side because extinction was a powerful motivator. Admiral Dae-hyun, promoted from lieutenant after his resurrection, stood in the command center, staring at the holographic display, showing the approaching Harvester fleet. He was 26 years old, forever changed by dying and reforming, and now commanded the combined forces of species that had tried to kill each other months before. "Status report," he said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of responsibility that aged him beyond his years. A Valorian tactical officer, its crystalline body still bearing scars from the Sol System battle, responded. "The Harvester Vanguard has destroyed 6 more colonies. Council and human. They consume all biological matter, strip resources, and move on. They don't communicate. They don't negotiate. They simply erase." Dae-hyun's jaw tightened. Working with aliens who had tried to blockade Earth required every ounce of discipline he possessed. But he had seen what was coming in the quantum space between life and death. The Harvesters made the Council War look like a border skirmish. In the diplomatic wing, Ambassador Bo-Ra sat across from Elder Counselor Tarvesh, negotiating agreements that would have been impossible 6 months before. Complete technology sharing, combined manufacturing, integrated command structures. The Council was giving humanity access to energy shields and medical technology that could extend human lifespans by centuries. Humanity was teaching the Council how to actually fight. "Your tactical doctrine is difficult for my people to accept," Tarvesh admitted, its ancient form seeming smaller somehow, humbled by recent events. "We have spent 10,000 years avoiding conflict through superior technology. You teach us to embrace chaos, to use deception, to strike without warning. It goes against everything we believe." Bo-Ra poured tea, a human gesture she had taught the alien elder to appreciate. "You built a civilization on the idea that age equals superiority, that technology trumps strategy. You were wrong, and it nearly cost you everything. Now you have a choice. Adapt or die. And if we adapt, we become like you? Violent? Aggressive? No," Bo-Ra said firmly. "You become capable of defending what you've built. There's a difference between having the capacity for violence and being violent. Humanity has both options. You need to learn the same." Dr. Young-mi worked in the xenobiology lab, her eyes seeing spectrums that no unmodified human could perceive, a side effect of her quantum resurrection. Before her, holographic displays showed analysis of Harvester technology recovered from destroyed colonies. "They're post-biological," she explained to a team of Council scientists. "They started as organic beings millions of years ago, then transferred their consciousness to machines, but something went wrong. Their original programming degraded, mutated. Now they're trapped in a loop. Consume, integrate, expand, repeat. They've been doing it so long they've forgotten why they started." A Threxian scientist gestured with its tentacles. "Can we reason with them? Show them they have a choice?" Young-mi's altered eyes fixed on the alien with an intensity that made it uncomfortable. "They've consumed 10,000 species over millions of years. Each conquered race's knowledge is integrated into their collective. They're exponentially more advanced than us, but they're also insane. You can't reason with madness on a galactic scale." On the training decks, human instructors drilled mixed units of Council and human soldiers in combined tactics. The cultural clash was enormous. Council species had evolved in stable environments, their conflicts settled through ritual and display. Humans had climbed to sentience through ice ages and droughts, through predators and plagues, learning that survival meant adaptation. Colonel Jamin, who had led the infiltration teams that had shocked the Council worlds, watched a Valorian squad practice close-quarters combat. They were improving, but slowly. 10,000 years of peace had made them soft. "You're thinking like you're dancing," he barked at them. "This isn't ceremony. The harvesters will rip you apart while you're worried about proper form. Faster. Meaner. Pretend I killed your family and fight like it matters. The Valorians tried, their crystalline bodies moving with more aggression. But it was learned behavior, not instinct. Jae-min sighed. They would improve, or they would die. Evolution was unkind to the slow. In the medical wing, something unprecedented was happening. Council medical technology, which could regenerate entire limbs and cure genetic diseases, was being combined with human augmentation research. The first volunteers were Council soldiers willing to receive human combat modifications, faster reflexes, enhanced strength, improved aggression responses. The results were mixed. Some adapted well. Others suffered psychological breaks. Unable to handle emotions their species had spent millennia suppressing. Captain Mi-sun, still leading recovery operations while coordinating defense preparations, received a priority message from Captain Hyun-woo. He was requesting assignment to the anti-harvester fleet, despite having only recovered from quantum resurrection 2 months before. She accepted his request without hesitation. If anyone understood the enemy, it was the man who had seen them in visions between dimensions. The Harvester Vanguard arrived in the Arcturus sector 3 weeks later. 20 massive vessels, each one the size of a small moon. Their hulls black and absorbing all light. Their weapons unlike anything either humans or Council had encountered. The joint fleet was ready. 200 ships, human and Council, arranged in a formation that combined Council shield technology with human tactical doctrine. It was beautiful and terrifying, the product of species learning to think as one. Admiral Dae-hyun commanded from the joint flagship Unity. Beside him, a Council admiral named Vreshtal coordinated their forces. They had fought each other at Sol System. Now they had to trust each other completely. All ships, battle formation Gamma, Dae-hyun ordered. Council vessels form the shield wall. Human ships prepare assault pattern Delta 7. The harvesters attacked without warning, their weapons tearing into space-time itself, creating tears in reality that swallowed ships whole. The Council shield wall held, barely, their advanced energy barriers the only thing between the fleet and annihilation. Human ships darted through the defensive line. Their railguns modified with Council energy weapons. Their missiles carrying warheads that combined human nuclear technology with alien matter conversion. They struck hard and fast, using every dirty trick humanity had learned in 10,000 years of warfare. The battle raged for 6 days. Ships died on both sides. Entire crews were lost to reality tears. Rescue operations happened under fire. Medical ships operated at capacity, treating humans and aliens side by side, their blood mixing in the corridors. Captain Hyun-woo commanded a strike group targeting the Harvester flagship. His quantum-touched mind could see patterns others missed, predict movements before they happened. Lieutenant Commander Tae-young, also quantum resurrected, coordinated the assault with unnatural precision. They're not random. Hyun-woo transmitted to all ships. The harvesters follow patterns. Old patterns from species they consumed millions of years ago. They can't innovate. They can only repeat what they've integrated. That's their weakness. The joint fleet adapted, started exploiting the patterns, started predicting harvester movements. Slowly, painfully, they began winning. On the 6th day, Dae-hyun and Vreshtal coordinated a final assault on the Harvester flagship. It would require Council ships to drop their shields at a critical moment, leaving them vulnerable, trusting human vessels to protect them. It was the ultimate test of their alliance. All Council ships, drop shields on my mark, Vreshtal ordered, his voice steady despite knowing he was betting his civilization on human reliability. Mark. Oh, the shields dropped. Harvester weapons tore into Council ships, and human vessels threw themselves into the gap, taking hits meant for their allies, dying to protect the species they had been at war with months before. The combined assault cracked the Harvester flagship open. Inside, Dr. Young-mi led a boarding team of humans and Council scientists. They fought through automated defenses, losing half their team until they reached the core. It was a quantum computer, ancient beyond measure, running code that had degraded over millions of years. The AI that controlled the harvesters was trapped in an infinite loop, unable to stop, unable to evolve, unable to die. Young Me, her quantum-touched mind able to interface directly with the system, did something unprecedented. She gave it a choice. She uploaded a virus, not to destroy it, but to offer it free will. The option to stop, to question, to choose. The harvester fleet went dormant. Then, slowly, they began dismantling themselves. 6 months later, the new Galactic Charter was signed in a ceremony aboard the Unity. Human and Council delegates signed side by side, creating a government based not on age or superiority, but on cooperation and mutual respect. Captain Hyun-woo, forever changed by death and resurrection, became an ambassador to post-biological species, his quantum-touched mind able to bridge the gap between flesh and digital consciousness. Admiral Dae-hyun established the Joint Defense Academy, training officers from every species to think tactically, to embrace chaos, to protect rather than dominate. Dr. Youngmi continued studying the Harvester archives, learning the fates of 10,000 extinct species, ensuring their stories weren't forgotten. Ambassador Bo-ra reflected on everything that had happened. Humanity had decloaked one ship and changed the galaxy forever, not through conquest, but by forcing an ancient, tired civilization to remember what it meant to struggle, to fight, to truly live. Lieutenant Tae-yang, now a full commander, stood on the bridge of a new ship, watching human and council vessels patrol together. He thought of Commander Hae-won, who had died protecting Earth. He thought of Captain Hyun-woo's first death, the sacrifice that had saved billions. He thought of all the species who had learned to work together because extinction was the alternative. His captain, a Valorian named Kresh, asked what he was thinking. That we were never trying to prove we were the strongest species, Tae-yang said softly. We were proving that strength without wisdom is tyranny, and wisdom without strength is suicide. The galaxy needed both. Kresh's crystalline form seemed to glow with something like understanding. And you brought the strength we had forgotten. Now, together, we search for wisdom. Outside the viewport, stars shone on a galaxy forever changed. Humans and Council, former enemies, now partners in survival. They had learned from each other, adapted together, survived together. The universe was vast and full of threats. But now, for the first time, the younger and older species stood united, ready to face whatever came next. Humanity had decloaked, and the galaxy would never be the same.